Would you like to finish it, Captain?
I don't know how.
That is not true, sir.
Greetings, Earthlings. Thank you for joining us, but right away, get your shields up, red alert. Spoilers are coming in hot for Picard, the series, episode 1. If you don't want to know about anything that happens in that show, now's the time to get on out of here, fire up that transporter, because here we go. Joining me today on the bridge, we have IGN executive editors Scott Collura, Jim Vjevoda, and my boss, head of video, Corrado Caretto, all Star Trek fans, bigger Star Trek experts than I am, but here we are. We're going to break down Picard Episode 1 right now. Now, I had 3 points that I wanted to get through in this conversation. Number 1, what was the reason that Jean-Luc Picard left Starfleet? Number 2, Data's legacy and how it relates to this series. And number 3, the Borg. If it's a show about Jean-Luc Picard, you know the Borg have to be connected somehow, so we're going to get into all that today. So let's start real quickly and talk about the real reason that Picard, or Jean-Luc Picard, has left Starfleet. Now, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how I've only seen the episode once, so this has all kind of come from memory. So let's see if I get this right. So there was the Romulan supernova, which led to a crisis on Mars, which was perpetrated by a group of rogue synths, correct? Androids. Mm-hmm. Basically set Mars on fire. Starfleet's response to that is what led Jean-Luc Picard to leave Starfleet. Is that correct? Do I have that right?
Yeah, I think that's broad strokes. The gist of it, right? Yeah. So as we saw in the 2009 Star Trek movie, the first one with Chris Pine, Romulus was destroyed, or the Romulus sun was destroyed. So now we're picking up, and then that movie then went into an alternate timeline, so we never saw what happened back in regular Star Trek land. But this is picking up on the other side of the portal what happened. And we see that the Romulus was destroyed, and as a result, there was a refugee crisis. And so Picard, as Admiral, was going to lead this huge fleet. He refers to it as Dunkirk, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Get as many people out as he can. But these renegade synths, which are androids, we guess, attacked Mars where all the ships were being built that were going to take the refugees out. And as a result, they couldn't do it. And Starfleet basically got cold feet, I think, is what happened. Yeah. And there was a terrible humanitarian crisis, humanitarian crisis, I guess. And Picard resigned his commission as a result because he felt Starfleet betrayed their mission.
Yeah, isn't that what he says to the reporter in the episode? He says, it wasn't the Starfleet that I recognized.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's something that's really important that we're going to come back to later on, because you get a sense from that reporter that there was this anti-Romulan sentiment that was widely sort of felt. And I get the sense that maybe echoed in Starfleet, right? So she's almost like accusing Picard of having been like a sympathizer. And there was that moment where they were like, you wanted to save those Romulan lives.
He says, no.
No, lives. Right? Yeah. So I think that that's really important, and I think that it's sort of setting the groundwork for what I imagine is going to be like ultimately how Starfleet turned.
It's the kinder, gentler version of Star Trek 6, where Kirk is like, let them die. And it's the Klingon homeworld is getting destroyed. Mm-hmm. So we've kind of been here before.
Anyway, this Romulan crisis, it looks like it's going to have some great-reaching, far-reaching implications as far as the narrative of this show goes.
Yeah, and I think the thing I am most impressed about it is that it's Star Trek once again talking about the real world in a lot of ways. Like it's Star Trek commenting on the world we live in, where a lot of people are disillusioned by where our world is going right now. And it seems like that's what's happened with Picard as well. His government, the Starfleet, everything he believed in took a weird left turn and suddenly is betraying the very mission of Starfleet and the Federation. And I'm sure that that's what the show is really about. Yeah. It's about the year 2020 and what we're dealing with right now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I have a theory I'm going to throw out there.
Yeah.
I think Starfleet was behind the attack.
Yeah, you think so?
I do. I think that because we're already seeing them set the stage that there were anti-Romulan sentiments and stuff like that. And we know if Picard is the good guy and he, shacks up with a bunch of rebels, then clearly Starfleet has become the Empire. And I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they were the ones who were behind the synth attack.
Perfect segue. But what do you think at home of this theory? Do you think Starfleet is ultimately evil? Let us know in the comments below. But of course, Jean-Luc Picard is not one to refuse the call to adventure. And who is it that delivers this call to adventure but Data's daughter?
Yeah.
So that brings up our next point, right? Data and his legacy. His shadow looms over this entire series. He's not back yet. He's still dead, technically, from the end of Nemesis, but we did see B4 in a box, and Corrado has a theory about that, too, but we'll get to that in a second. So, again, throwing it out to my panel members, just trying to recall what I saw that one time I saw the episode. Data's still dead. Because of this crisis, basically Mars is still on fire because of this. Synths have been outlawed. And when we meet Alison Pill's character, she's a robotics AI synth expert, but all of her research has to be done on a theoretical level. Synths are banned. They're outlawed. Yeah. Can Data come back? Is that what they're setting up? I feel like this whole thing is the gun in the first act. They're going to show us Data later on in this series. That's what I think. That was what my takeaway was. Am I being overly hopeful? What do you guys think?
I don't think we're going to get Data back.
Okay.
I don't think so, which maybe is a controversial opinion. I don't know. I think maybe we might get a version of Data. Like, it won't be Brent Spiner, the actor, but it'll be like Data somehow, his memories or something are living on in his daughter or something like that. If you go back to the Next Generation, where Data had a daughter in I think it was the third season episode, Lal. He built a daughter, but because the synth or android technology is so complicated, even Data couldn't quite pull it off. And by the end of the episode, the daughter died. And it's a sad episode and everything. But by the end of it, Data's like, "Why are you sad? Lal continues to live on inside me." Like, that's my Data impression.
Well done. Oh my God, that was real good.
I thought you were Brent Spiner for a second there.
And so all of her memories and everything continued in his programming. So I could see them flipping it now, and like Data continues to live on in whatever the characters. I can't keep track of the twin daughters.
Darsh and the other one. That's what I'm calling her right now. I don't know what her name is because they didn't introduce her name.
Right.
At least I don't think. Maybe they did, and I don't remember. Yeah, my memory banks aren't.
I feel like again, it would be in keeping with stuff that they've already done in Star Trek. It's basically like take off on like Spock's Katra. Yeah, and it's put into McCoy. Like, I don't feel like there's I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of new ideas in here. Even like the whole, I'm calling it Deep State Nine, all that the Starfleet is evil stuff. Yeah. Like,
didn't we cover that in the Kelvin universe and Beyond,
that also seems like a total like Roberto Orsi kind of invention at some point. Yeah. But like I think they'll eventually kind of address all that. I feel like we're going to be able to figure out where this show is going, because I don't think a lot of the ideas that they're covering, as much as I enjoy the show, I'm hoping that they're going to put a new spin on these terrain that they've already tried over.
Yeah.
Corrado's over here coming out of his shoes because he's got his own theory. So let's hear it.
Or Jim, or they are going to do something.
They're going to do something completely different.
I have a theory. I think that wasn't before. That was
in the box.
That was Data, and here is why. Alison Pill in the show says, we tried to transfer Data over, but it didn't work. Like, there's something about their positronic brain or whatever. Like, that's the story, probably at least she was told. But we know that, like, we can sort of deduce that the synthetics were based off of Data's design, right? Because we knew in Measure of a Man, that you called out in your article, that they were hell-bent on like trying to like create a whole bunch of synthetics based off of Data. So my theory is like Data, this daughter pops up that clearly was designed by Data, right? Like, there's almost, not only does she have like these memories and she's like this weird, it's like in her DNA to like go to Picard, and she has this, but like we also see that there's a plant, the plant being the painting, right? So to me, it says that Data directly,
he's done the legwork.
She was created by Data. So in my mind, it's either like, you know, some weird ethereal, like his consciousness is floating around, or like, I think that they successfully, because we saw at the end of Nemesis, right, that they wanted to like bring over Data's memories.
They put it in B4, but you didn't know if it would work or not.
I think it worked. And then I think once they were able to get him or use his makeup to like create this army of synths, I think that they disassembled him, put him in a box, and like they're trying to cover the whole thing up. And I also think that they're the ones who are after Darsh.
When they finally take the helmets off, we see under who that is. They're all Data.
Well, one of them was
Attacking the
Romulan.
clones and the
They're
synths at the same time.
But I think that they're going to have to explain then why give her human memories and this fake mother and all this kind of
hide her.
stuff, and like but they're talking about there's another one that's been activated. So
There is another.
There's obviously
The most original
other
line
ones.
ever.
Yeah.
I think they will. I think that you would make it so that they didn't know to protect themselves, like to protect them, right? And then they knew that they had to like. I love how it's just like cover the Apple Watch and it goes to sleep. It's like put a hood over her head and she's gonna go down.
Yeah.
But she's just like but she was activated, and there's a faction, like these people didn't strike me as rogues. Like there's a faction out there that know that these girls are synthetics. And they're trying to take her down.
Yeah.
Who? Why?
So there's
Or take her down or co-opt her for their own cause.
Right.
Yeah.
But then there's also the matter of lore, right? Data's like evil brother, like he's still out.
Yeah.
Like the last time we
Is he or is he dead?
Well, he was deactivated. I think they say in the last time we saw him on the Next Generation episode that they defeated him, and I think Data was like, we will keep him. I'll do my impersonation again. Captain, it is best if we keep him deactivated and disassembled at Starfleet headquarters. Or something
Mr.
like that.
Spiner, when did you join us?
I'm waiting for you to do your Brent Spiner Independence Day thing too.
So what do you think at home? Is Data coming back? Is that the thing that they're laying track for right now? Let us know in the comments below. But our third point, and the search for for Data's daughter actually leads us here in the very last scene of the show. We see that she is aboard a Borg cube hanging out with a bunch of Romulans, right? Is that what I saw?
Yeah, it says
So what is this?
Romulan relocation.
What does
Center
this
or
mean?
something.
What does this mean?
Well, so we know 7 of 9 from Star Trek Voyager is going to be in the show, and we know Hugh, who was a Borg, he's going to be in the show, who was a Borg that Picard encountered a couple of times. We've seen them in the trailers, and they look like they're a little more human these days.
Maybe they're good Borg.
Maybe, but I just interviewed Jerry Ryan yesterday about the show, and she told me that that 7 of 9 actually holds a grudge against Picard and Starfleet, and that basically her and Hugh have had a really rough 20 years since we last saw them, and that they blame Picard and Starfleet. So what does that mean? What do they blame them for? It's a little unclear, but she's like a member of a resistance group we think it's called the Fenris Rangers
or something.
And this
like
is
that.
coming in future episodes, is what we'll learn.
I mean, she was telling me it as a backstory to where her character is at now, but I guess we'll learn more about it as the show proceeds. So the question is, what does she blame Picard for? Why does she blame Picard?
Ruined her credit history, man. It ruined her scores down, everything. She was trying to buy a house. Way to go.
I mean, I guess she sides with the synths to some degree, right? I mean, maybe that's what it is.
I have a theory about that.
Break it down, Corrado. What do you got?
So my theory about that is that her and Hugh, right, seem to be autonomous. They have like detached themselves from the collective.
Even though we haven't seen them in the series yet.
Right.
Okay.
But I mean, judging from like that was the big outstanding thing in the trailers, like, whoa, 7 of 9 is
They're
really
gonna be
like
back, yeah.
superhuman. I think that what we're gonna see is either this specific group of collective, like in this cube, it's like a one-off and it's just this one cube that managed to escape the Borg, or who knows what happened to the Borg since, right? So I think let's agree or assume that right now that group of Borg and that tech and all that they're all like autonomous thinkers and that they're no longer a collective. Imagine if Starfleet had used Data to create an army of synthetics and were like using them and controlling them to attack helpless refugees and stuff like that, right? How would, if you were 7 of 9 or Hugh, and you were once part of a collective and forced to like assimilate cultures and like decimate planets, how would you react? Who would you be against, right? Who would you align yourself with? And that's why I think at the end we see the Romulans on a Borg ship with a synthetic.
There you go.
There it is. Perfect segue. Corrado's got tons of theories for us, but what do you think at home? Are the Borg coming back? Are they up to no good? what's going to happen in this series? Let us know in the comments below. And now that you're all caught up, go ahead and check out our review of the first episode. And be sure to follow and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.